Last part of the story series, we received a call from Director Hugh of the Cooperative. The liberated Borg wanted our assistance in dealing with an undisclosed potential Borg incursion in the Ramazad system. However, when we arrived, he was nowhere to be seen, and instead we found Control Borg wreckage, and seemingly the disabled Harmony, the Aetherian flagship. Boarding it to look for answers, we get our first exploration of the Aetherian technology, and are gradually piecing together what happened on board the ship, and the mysterious disappearance of Hugh and seemingly the crew. After about half an hour of searching, we find someone.
It's one of Director Hugh's officers. We better help them. Shields are still down. We can stabilize them and beam them out.
With the Aetherian ship out of operation, it seems that we at least have free rein on transporters, so we close in on the XB to check on them. They're alive, at least, and manage to struggle briefly to consciousness before we beam them to the Rescava for medical treatment.
This isn't good. We need to figure out what happened here. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Well, there's another data node over on that wall. Perhaps that recorded something.
That's the spirit! Our tricorders are already remodulated and optimized for holographics. If you gather information to bypass the encryption subroutines, I'll get started on the node's parameters.
So, as we did in the previous rooms, we begin our modifications.
I'm feeling less guilty about tampering with Aetherian technology. Our allies could be in danger.
I mean, I'm not feeling guilty one bit. We had ample evidence that all aboard may be in danger.
Recalibrating parameters. Almost there. Got it! The fragments should be ready to play.
Okay, let's flip the recorder into a projector and...
I will lead you to our lower decks.
Well, that's not much to go on. This is the guy that was wounded, but no one here is panicked or anything. If it was an accident, then why was he left here?
Watch out!
Ah, someone standing armed in front of that frame or gateway. I think we might see how Hugh's companion was hurt.
What are you doing?
What is that? And Hugh sounded surprised at the Fey.
It worked! Unlike the last recording we watched, these initial fragments seem to be in the right order. That means Fey was leading Director Hugh and his officers to the lower decks of the ship. After that, something or someone attacked them. Well, this part seems right.
Yeah, I'm following so far. Wait, what do you mean, this part? Is the rest of it not?
However, my scans indicate the presence of corrupted data located inside the memory buffers. One of the following fragments does not align with the expected data intervals of the recording. That is to say, one of the recordings of Director Hugh was added later on. It was artificially injected into the data sequence.
Some added false log? Well, we can voice our suspicions at a falsified entry, or simply as some form of added security measure. After all, we are tampering with their systems.
Perhaps. We can't rule it out. But that doesn't seem like something the Control Borg would do. It seems a little too calculated, don't you think? In any case, we need to make a choice and identify the artificial fragment so we can remove the corrupted data and access the rest of the recording. Which fragment was artificially added to the data node?
Well, my first suspicion is that random cube we saw, but something about Hugh's reaction seemed genuine, whereas the appearance of a lone Control Borg seems out of place. Now, we know that the Control Borg are involved somehow, but it seems less likely that 4 people were ambushed by one drone than something unexpected happening.
Right. An unknown construct appeared from beyond the portal and attacked the group.
Not a Borg drone.
The falsified fragment has been identified. First, Fey told Director Hugh and his bridge officers that she would lead them to the lower decks of the ship. But then, an unknown construct attacked Director Hugh and his bridge officers from beyond the portal. One of his bridge officers was left wounded. Well done. That's it. It wasn't a Control Borg that fired at Director Hugh's officer, but an unknown construct. It seems Aetherian? The corrupted data has been removed successfully, The full sequence of events is now ready to play. Unfortunately, the harmonics are acting up again, so expect some fragmentation. The system is active. Let's play its last recording.
Alright, let's find a vantage point and observe. I'm not sure I'm going to like this.
It is a shame you are not staying longer. We have much to discuss. I am curious about the liberated Borg.
Well, the path of a liberated Borg is not easy. Ultimately, it's about giving others a second chance.
Fascinating. Aetherians believe in giving others a second life, like in ascension.
I suppose you could compare it to that. Helping others overcome their past so they can grow.
Ascension.
Indeed. If you follow me, I will lead you to our lower decks.
You said this is where you found the control Borg boarding party?
Indeed.
Do you know how they were able to bypass your shields?
We are uncertain. Several malfunctions have been reported. No conclusions have been drawn yet.
What are you doing?
This was not supposed to happen.
Get behind me!
Now that certainly lines up with what we saw.
My word, so that's what actually happened. It seems like an Aetherian security system of some sort attacked Director Hugh and his officers. But by Luca, I cannot imagine why someone would come back afterwards to plant a falsified recording implicating the Borg. It's beyond me.
A security system made to fight Borg accidentally shoots an ambassador? Maybe trying to cover it up from the Aetherians? Would they do that?
In any case, Tarsine Faye's remark is important. If the Aetherian security system has gone rogue, there might be more for us to worry about than control Borg. Fortunately, this recording also shows the console code used to activate this portal. I suppose it will lead to the lower decks. Here's the code. Will you do the honors?
Allow me to get the door. The door is taking longer than I thought. When we unlock the monitor, a strange message flashes up briefly, titled E191. When the Kalmonans evolved to become the E191, the Aetherians found their true purpose. The Aether offers knowledge so divine that, naturally, it chose itself to govern the actions of all. The rest is untranslatable. Namad was the name of their capital city, but the term, E191, is a term for knowledge, possibly divine in nature, which would mesh with what they are discussing this ether to be. So the Aetherians have a belief system around some divine understanding. This ether apparently rules them, either as a philosophy, metaphor, or is it an actual thing?
I believe this calls for the Earth saying, "Here goes nothing."
Right, sorry, yeah, I didn't say any of that out loud, did I? Nothing to worry about, Kamalki. Let's just jump through this portal. Gods and portals. I'm feeling uneasy.
These lower decks sure are darker. A word?
Go for it, although I think we're still being watched. Everything alright?
Yes. I think so. I feel confident that we are on the right track, especially after seeing both Director Hugh and Tarsine Faye pass through here. And yet, I just feel unsettled. There's something not quite right about all of this. Do you feel it too?
Honestly, my gut's been saying something's been up with the Aetherians since I met them, and I can't place it.
Before we move on, I want to make sure you know that you can count on me. Entirely. Last time we underwent a mission together, I told you I wasn't certain I'd be a reliable ally against Borg forces. That's not the case anymore. I feel stronger than ever. Although I still have some reservations, I won't be showing up late to the party this time.
I'd appreciate that. Last time I got assimilated at. I'm sorry, that is still too soon. We can choose to reply with, I've got your back, you've got mine, or we can say, Kumaki, that means more to me than you know.
Well, I'm glad that's settled. Let's get back to business. This room
has big glowy data nodes.
Exactly. You know the drill. If you search the room for information, I'll begin recalibrating the data node's parameters. Those encryption subroutines won't stand a chance. I admit, I'm feeling apprehensive. What we're about to see next could be very telling.
Good.
Integrating the environmental information, bypassing encryptions. All done. The fragments are ready to play.
Well, we're getting faster at this, that's good. Okay, let's take a look.
Hugh to bridge, requesting immediate backup.
There has been a grave misunderstanding.
Ah, another security node. It looks like security systems did indeed start targeting Hugh and the team.
Fret not, Director. We will not let you perish.
Oh dear, that looked like Hugh briefly on the floor, injured.
You shall be conserved and uplifted anew.
Okay. Was he killed?
Perish? Did they really get into some kind of near-fatal altercation? I can't even imagine it. Tassine Fey is our ally and friend. There must be more to this.
It's all conjecture at this point. First, the last set of files we looked at had a false one. Is that going on here too?
Unfortunately, my scans suggest that the node's memory buffer may be overloaded. Over time, this could lead to slight alterations in recorded material due to deletions or simplifications, for example. So rather than an artificial addition, it seems to be a corruption of the original events. There should be some truth to this scenario, but something's off.
We are breaking things, aren't we?
We'll need to identify the altered fragment and restore it to its original form in order to play the full sequence of events. Which data node fragment was altered?
Well, first we try to establish the veracity of Hugh raising a weapon in defense, to see if that actually happened, and apparently, yes, it did.
The node is not receptive to that input. Let's reconsider.
So the next option we pick is, was Hugh actually wounded?
The altered fragment has been identified. Director Hugh raised his weapon at Tassine Fey, but he was not critically wounded. Finally, Tassine Fey lifted his body out of the room.
Yeah, hopefully to get medical attention?
By Lucar, we did it! I was hoping for this outcome. Hopefully this means that Director Hugh was not gravely injured. Let's see what actually happened here. The full sequence is ready to play.
Hugh to bridge, requesting immediate backup.
There has been a grave misunderstanding.
I can see that. What the hell is going on here?
Our security system is registering you and your officers as Prime Borg.
Tassine Fey, I really don't want to take down your construct. Get them to stand down.
I understand. This won't be necessary. You will be neutralized until we can repair our systems.
Neutralized? Okay, we might be getting lost in translation, but that's not happening.
Fret not, Director. We will not let you perish.
So Tassine Fey stunned Hugh, claiming that the security system was targeting any Borg and this was to keep him safe until they had it under control.
You shall be conserved and uplifted anew.
And then she took his body out in some sort of stasis field, but I don't like the idea of this uplifted thing. But look at that. Hugh's last chaperone was still alive and going after him.
That's it! Director Hugh was neutralized by Tassine Fey in an effort to protect him, I suppose? And it looks like his wounded bridge officer made it out of the room. Well, if the Director and his officers are registering as enemy Borg to the Aetherian security system, then there's no telling how it will register us. After all, you and I have both had dealings with the Borg that have left us changed. Thankfully, the recording once again shows the console code Tarsi and Faye used to get out of this room. However, perhaps we should stop tampering with the data nodes from now on.
Nah, in for a penny, in for a pound. But no, I'm more concerned about this neutralization and uplifting.
Tarsi and Faye's choice seems somewhat abrupt. It certainly wouldn't be acceptable by Lucari diplomatic standards. But if she intends to uplift him anew, as she said, perhaps she only meant to conceal Director Hugh's bioscience from her security system.
That's a lot of perhaps going on. She could be telling the truth to the Director. Such an incident could result in major political fallout if discovered, so the Aetherians are trying to hide their embarrassment. But that theory seems underwhelming, and the Aetherians at least seem competent. I find it troubling that they claim to have no control over their systems. Controlled Borg could have compromised it, though.
Aetherian customs could be wildly different from mine or yours. Perhaps this is not as transgressive as it seems.
She stunned him and carted him away for stasis at least. I think we need to stop assuming the benefit of the doubt here. I think it's time we brought in our away teams.
I agree. Let's input the console code so we can move on and beam in some backup. The coordinates might be a little off as we are unfamiliar with the Harmony's exotic interdimensional topography. Beam-in could be delayed, and the exact arrival position unknown.
Yeah, I've noticed that things in here seem to get a little weird. Well, I'm sure we'll at least find them.
Admiral Kumarke to the Rescava. We are requesting backup aboard the Harmony. Director Hugh is down. I repeat, Director Hugh is down.
Admiral Kumarke, this is Ensign Varunte reporting in. We have notified both of your crews. We're struggling to get a lock on your position. We'll beam someone down as soon as we can.
Copy that, Varunte. Right. Let's not waste a moment.
After calling in our own team, we move to unlock the next door and watch it dematerialise. Beyond is another angular corridor bathed in dismal diamond lighting and neon-like streaks. It looks like the ship is on low power mode down here. Continuing on down the corridor, something catches our eye, laying still at the centre, a body.
That's Director Hugh's other officer.
Well, looks like she didn't get far.
Let's stabilize them and beam them out.
On it, at least they're alive and we still have transporters. After securing her recovery, we go on until we're surprised by a sudden burst of electricity.
Watch out! Control Borg ahead!
What the? I had almost forgotten they were here with everything else going on, and behind us.
No match for us.
No, but where did they come from? We've got no readings of other vessels, which means that they may have already been here. Seems the Aetherians were telling the truth about being boarded. Entering to the next chamber, we can find a large galactic map and meeting room. This looks like some sort of briefing chamber, and that looks like the Milky Way. Well, honestly, so far, nothing overly suspicious about this. Of course, the Aetherians have galactic maps.
Unsurprisingly, this room is also on lockdown. We'll need to figure out how to move on without a recording of Tarsin Faye's console code. We could take a swift look around. Any insight into the Aetherians could be valuable to us. What an incredible astrometrics laboratory. I never imagined Aetherians to be galactic strategists, though. Perhaps they are less quick to trust others than I had originally thought.
I mean, they have been holding their own against multiple Borg incursions from alternate realities for untold years. I think it's safe to assume that they're tactically savvy. Never underestimate things. Still, this console doesn't appear to be locked down. Let's take a look at the last things they were looking at, shall we? Just out of curiosity.
This star chart shows an array of interlinked gateways placed across a vast number of alternate dimensions.
I've seen this before.
Fascinating. I haven't seen many other species use gateways as a means of transportation.
Uh-huh. No, please be wrong. We take a look at another nearby console to find a translatable entry called E191. After the Great Cybernetic Onslaught, the Doctrine too evolved. Military tactics no longer concerned themselves with redacted, as those who could not see the light were redacted. Instead, the all-knowing Aether has brought us countless victories, some more noteworthy than others. Redacted target species proved to be, and then the rest is lost.
Cybernetic onslaught. It seems these military texts describe the battle the Aetherians fought against the Borg, as well as other civilizations. This retelling is much less grim than I would have imagined. Didn't they say the Borg decimated their entire universe?
Yes, they did. So who else were they fighting?
Perhaps the military texts hold the key to our exit.
The timeline they claim is that the Borg overran most of their reality, leaving the Aetherians the last standing species, even at the expense of losing their own planet. After this, it looks like they evolved their doctrine from whatever it was towards this new Aether-bound philosophy, but were also in combat against others because of it? Does that mean they beat their version of the Borg before going to war with someone else in their universe? We've got a couple of pass-phrases we could try. Let's try E191.
That didn't work. Let's try the other option.
Liax-Lodar.
That's it. Well done.
The console responds with, "Through unity, we are strong."
Lead the way. Rogue security system constructs up ahead.
Honestly, I'm amazed we got as far unmolested as we did. The security nodes appear with an electric burst and begin to fire beams of energy. Fortunately, they are relatively telegraphed, allowing us to dodge, and nothing penetrates our personalised shielding. However, it would be a good idea for our away teams to catch up soon.
Let's keep moving.
Either side of this chamber are 2 rooms, and the middle corridor is to proceed. But intrigued now and driven by a dire urge to know more, we move to check these side rooms. As we enter, though, a new surprise greets us.
Look out! Control Borg heading our way! They must be beaming in from other sections of the ship.
Kumark is of the same mind, that the Control Borg are here, at least meaning that the Aetherians may have indeed suffered an infiltration and called on Hugh to assist. Things might have gotten worse, leading to Hugh's team being attacked by the Aetherians' own compromised security systems. However, that narrative presented to us in this way just seems a little too convenient.
Are these Aetherian living quarters? Oddly enough, it sort of looks familiar.
I hadn't really had a chance to take a look. If they are living quarters, then I assume these are the beds, but they look rather snug. Would the tall Aetherians even fit in these? They seem almost more humanoid-sized. After checking this room, we move to the opposite, and more Borg appear.
Look out! Control Borg heading our way!
The Control Borg are far more spry than our common adversary, and favour melee attacks made from roiling nanobots. We're able to drive them off rather quickly, but can't help but wish that our away team would hurry up and find us. As we finish investigating, we move on down the central path, only to find a stunning room.
Oh my! It's a whole wall of Grendat Bexes. But why? Perhaps this is how Aetherians honour their fallen.
I don't know, and I don't like it. This looks far too reminiscent of Borg alcoves. Do the Aetherians regenerate? Grendat Bex sacrificed himself to save us against the Control Borg, allowing us to evacuate while he detonated. He seemed an honourable individual. Seeing lines of him lined up like this is very strange, although at least they seem unmoving. Now, these Grendat Bexes have funny names attributed to them, each a different reference, so I'll put the ones that I decoded on the screen for you. As far as I'm aware, each is a reference to a member of the development team who is no longer there. Having investigated this strange room, we move on, now more convinced than ever that we really need to know more about the Aetherians. After another angular corridor, the doors open to a long room filled with active portals at the far end, lined with multiple floating pillars. With no other entry points or security systems, we carefully proceed.
I'm picking up life signs nearby. Admiral Kumar K to the Rescava, requesting an immediate status report.
Admiral Kumarke, this is Ensign Varunte reporting in. We've got a lock on your position. Who should we send in?
Ah, that explains why the away team's not found me yet. Send mine.
Understood. I'll send the coordinates over to your team. They should be with you soon.
Very good.
And Ensign? Tell them to be careful, please. This ship is packed with Borg.
Not to mention the suspect security systems.
It seems the Aetherians use these energy portals to get from one level of their ship to the next. I wonder how many there are aboard the Harmony.
Probably a lot, and if they're using them so casually, I suspect they're very powerful.
In any case, this Aetherian portal is already open.
Admiral Kumarke, this is Ensign Varunte. Did the crew make it?
I don't see them.
They did, and not a moment too soon, Varunte. I'm picking up life signs further ahead on this deck of the ship. Localized interference makes them hard to identify, but it could be Director Hugh and Tassine Fay.
I'm going to assume the away team's just loading in. Let's move.
I'll be right behind you.
Sure enough, my away team forms up behind us as we step away from the portal, and we're ready to move to investigate these life signs that we're detecting. It's daunting to think this is the first sign of life we've seen so far. So we press on, through a corridor to another room, this one lined with operational consoles, perhaps some form of monitoring deck for various systems, but also one lined with sample containers.
It seems there are no data nodes in this room, and still no signs of Director Hugh or Tassine Fay. Without the recordings and console codes, we'll need to rely on environmental information alone to move forward.
Well, it's worked for us so far. Let's get snooping.
Let's try the console at the end of the room. Neurodrills? Hydroponics pods? Is this a sick bay or a science lab?
If we examine the tables in here, we can find numerous chunks of Borg technology, seemingly prized from the bodies of drones. It looks grim, akin to the Romulan Tal Shiar studies we've seen 2 years ago, but we must remember that the Federation itself also extensively studied deactivated Borg tech.
Nothing here. We'll have to keep looking. Rogue security system incoming! Our console interaction must have activated them.
You did say that was going to get increasingly likely to happen as we tinkered.
They're stronger than the last ones.
Well, there's more of us, so it's kind of fair.
Well done. Quite the interruption. Now, where were we?
With things quietened down again, we crack into another console, only to have this one respond with a redacted version of one of their sayings. Through something we are something.
It does seem like a line from Tassine Fay's AXIOM. Through harmony we are secure, through unity we are strong. Perhaps the redactions are an added security measure. The words seem to have been superimposed with others that cannot be translated, not unlike a palimpsest. But if this line reads anything like the other two, then I'm not sure why a redaction is needed.
Overwritten text. I don't recall a third line.
Me neither. Not in any of my interactions with Tassine Fay. Either way, this unfortunately doesn't help us unlock the door.
It's worth bearing in mind, however, the Aetherians seem to have a focus on not only unity, but some form of divine knowledge and language. An interesting cultural note for later pondering, and surely not relevant to anything else. Another console reveals more texts. Iliax Relar. The axiom is law, the axiom is life. Though the Aether prescribes it, it cannot be denied that our extensive studies of other species has made a significant contribution to our doctrine, and for that the Aether rewards us with ascension. The Tal Shiar in particular served as... and the rest of the text is missing. Served as what? Inspiration? This does look like a Tal Shiar Borg research lab, is that what they're talking about? Or do they mean the more nefarious antics of the Tal Shiar?
This is a partial biomedical display of Aetherian energy readings. These readings indicate the presence of enhanced sensory organs, regenerative internal probes, and an energy-based core. It looks like the Aetherian anatomical composition is 70% biological, 30% mechanical, and the rest of the data is missing. Strange.
Full synthesis.
Perhaps there's another console in this room that contains the access code to the door. Heads up! Rogue security system incoming again. Predictable, I suppose.
I assume it's our tampering with their systems that's drawing the security ire, as they're firing on all of us, not just those who were assimilated once. We're able to evade most of the heavier firepower, at least.
They've upped their offensive, likely due to a perceived increase in threat level aboard the ship.
They perceive correctly. Grenades!
Oh, I'm glad that's over. Let's try another console.
It's interesting how these fractal-like security drones sort of fold in on themselves and then vanish when they're defeated.
That's it! The door is open! I'm detecting a life sign. Cognitive functions are compatible with the cooperative Borg. We're getting closer.
This chamber's filled with, what are those? Stasis pods?
What is this place?
We just passed through a lab, so optimistically, a med bay? Pessimistically? I don't want to know.
Look! It's Director Hugh!
I think he's alive.